Of course, we are joined by ANC National Spokesperson, Mr. Zizi Kodwa. He joins us today. I'm sure you're very excited. I mean, finally the day has arrived. All of that nail-biting stuff that's been happening throughout the year. The delegates are here. How has been the process so far? Is everything okay if we do we tick the boxes, registration, candidates in their numbers, all branches are counted for?
This is a moment in the day we've worked very hard to be where we are. It's been almost like a 2 years of hard work by a team of dedicated young men and women at Luton House. You won't see them like Zizi. They are always behind the scenes for us to be where we are. 6,000 delegates, both voting and non-voting, to book 1,000 buses from all over the country, to book accommodation in the entire south, east and the north of Johannesburg. Takes months to prepare that work. Security you can see outside. So we are quite excited. We are ready. And I think the NEC, of course, is responsible for the convenership, is the custodian of this meeting. So even though the scheduled NEC was in September, the NEC could meet in between there are any issues. That's why we've got a special NEC this morning to speak, among others, the issues that have so much have a bearing to the conference, because the judgments were not about the national conference. We're provincial specific, we're regional specific, we're branch specific. But there were branches that are here already, for delegates from here. There were delegates from those provinces. But the NEC must take a decision, like we've done in 2012. When the ruling of the Constitutional Court came on the eve of the conference, the NEC had to meet in Mangaung and took a decision to color code the PEC delegation of Free State, that they will participate and not vote. Similar discussion may take place at 8 o'clock when we meet this morning. But we're quite excited because we don't see any impediment from our point of view that will stop the conference from not proceeding.
Now, this is just on the topic of the branch, actually the delegate registration. Has the process been completed? I heard that there were some delays. Can you confirm that for us?
There were delays at some point because there were times where we were dealing with quite provinces with huge delegation. There was a time when Eastern Cape, KZN and Mpumalanga arrived at the same time. Those are the biggest delegations, and that took a lot of hours. And until the early hours of this morning, they were still doing the final small provinces, the parts of Northwest, Northern Cape, and Western Cape.
So will proceedings start on time this morning, or do we have to wait for the NEC to finish sitting? Will the breakfast briefing timing be affected? What can we expect for today's?
Whatever we do, but we'll make sure that when we start, there's nothing that stops us. So if there's a delay by 30 minutes to an hour, it's effective to make sure that when we start, there's nothing that will stop us. For an example, the NEC may start after 8 o'clock, but we'll make sure when we start, everything that's supposed to make the conference to run efficiently, that would have been attended to. Because we don't want anything in between programs to stop us to say we're still going to meet. No. We think so far 80% of the work that can constitute what it calls a successful conference has been done.
Now, just a question that could be on our viewers' minds. When does President Jacob Zuma actually cease to be the ANC president? When does the top six also cease to be the top six? When does the official handover take place? What are those processes?
At a time when what is called election agency, if you like IEC, is called on stage to say, we're now announcing nominations. The first thing they will do, they will call on the current NEC off stage. In other words, they will dissolve it.
Okay.
At that point, all of us, including President Zuma, there will be no NEC. But of course, there's a steering committee that is still in charge until the new leadership is then announced. That will be around, in terms of our plan, around between 3 and 5 this morning, where we take nominations. We cease to be leadership of the ANC at that time.
And the voting model remains the proposal to have this new voting model. That's still going to be discussed, isn't it?
The view of the last NEC, which was held 2 days ago, was that because of logistics, it may not be possible because we did not plan to have an extra day here. If you look at the proposed formula, among others, to vote for 4 positions per position, we're going to be remaining up until the 21st or 22nd. So we'll vote for top 6, going back to the old formula.
Right.
On the issue of credentials, just as you're jumping in there, what's the minimum required to have the necessary quorum for the conference to continue uninterrupted?
What is important is that credentials are a process. So what you see happening at UJ campus, it does not only constitute itself constitute credentials. It started long time back when we said branches must meet, must correct, and this is done in consultation with the provincial leadership. The Deputy Secretary, Comrade Jessie Duarte, has been at the center of this. I'm sure wherever she is, I hope she slept last night. She's been in the center of registration to make sure that meticulously when she presents those credentials here, they will outline a process of involvement of regions, of branches, as well as provinces. 70% is what is defined as what could constitute you to hold a conference, even a national conference. But we went beyond 70% because our idea was never to use 70% as to exclude the rest of branches. We're standing at around 96% of branches of the ANC who qualify to be here. But what constitutes also, it's important that you must have 90% of branches. And those 90%, they are here, including the 10%, which includes arts, the PECs, the leagues, they constitute the 10%.
Mr. Zizi Kodwa, national spokesperson of the ANC, giving us a lowdown on how things are going to unfold today, who's going to participate, the level of participation that's going to be taking place, the logistics that have had to be engineered to make sure that the process is itself indeed clear and that delegates will participate effectively, and of course that the result, of course, hopefully no disputes to take place. Mr. Zizi, you're not expecting any unforeseen things to change today?
We don't expect anything, including ill discipline. We can assure all those individuals whom we don't think at the moment there are many, that if you think that you'll use the platform of plenary to disrupt a meeting of the ANC, we'll remove you without touching the ground. You will realize at a point when you were standing in the meeting and only realize when you're outside. You will not know how you walked outside. We're not going to allow any ill discipline. And we've spoken to provincial leadership, and all of them have got their absolute commitment. They've spoken as heads of delegations. They've spoken to their delegates that whatever issues you have, will not allow a plenary to discuss an issue that can be resolved outside. So whoever comes there with the intention for this conference not to continue, we are ready for that person. We are absolutely ready for that person, regardless of which side you support. But our interest is
conjecture, innuendo about vote buying and that kind of thing.
There were a number of allegations of vote buying from all sides. And I think we've been following some of the culprits. And all culprits, we can tell them that should we find you here with some bags of dirty money, we will not hesitate to subject you to disciplinary action of the African National Congress, including disqualify you as a voting delegate. But we'll also deal with you post this conference because we think that you are subverting internal democracy, you are usurping the power of branches of the ANC. That's why we said we don't allow anybody to undermine the outcomes of branches of the ANC. So those who've got money that they don't know what to do about it, delegates sometimes they take money but keep the mandate of your branch. Just take money sometime, keep the mandate of the branch because this money is distributed somewhere under the corner of darkness. But should we find you, it will be the last day that you're a member of the ANC.
Now, Mr. Kodwa, there was a press conference with the Secretary General just yesterday, just to clarify for the viewers that might have missed that, with regards to the court cases, when a PGC is declared nullified, the members of the PEC can still attend as branch members. Does that mean that they can also vote at the branch level?
Absolutely. I can give you for an example, without preempting the discussions of the NEC this morning. Zikalala is a branch delegate. So whatever the decision of the NEC in relation to the judgment, him as a chairperson of the province, if it says we comply with the court that the PEC delegation of KZN will not participate, but he will participate as a branch member. So the judgment has got nothing to do with him as a branch member.
It's amazing how the courts have had to intervene in the constitutional matters of the ANC. To have to describe to the ANC, to have to explain to the ANC that this is a law, this is your constitution. How do you feel about that?
The courts are doing their work. They are doing what they expected of them. I think the first reaction must not be to condemn them, but to look at ourselves. What is it that we are not doing that we must be directed by the courts? And I think this conference must be very frank and honest to itself, without making and casting aspersions to people who are using courts in order to direct us. What is it that we are not doing right? Because in some instances, there are instances where the court finds us on the wrong side in terms of implementing our own resolution, in terms of the application of our own constitution. What is it that we are doing wrong? And I think there are lessons to be learned. There are instances where you think that the court might have gone beyond in terms of its interpretation. For an example, the interpretation of the Maritzburg High Court on Rule 17.1.1. We're appealing that. We're happy that we've been granting that appeal because we changed the judge in terms of his interpretation of 17.1. We have an authority as the NEC to decide when and how the province may convene its provincial conference. In that case, we will use the remedies and the recourse provided for as a party aggrieved. But I think there are lessons to be learned. Why so many judges, courts may direct the African National Congress when we have a capacity to interpret our own constitution?
Mr. Zizi Kodwa, thank you so much for joining us. That was the ANC National Spokesperson, Zizi Kodwa, joining us here in studio just to give us an update as to how processes will unfold as the day progresses. He has confirmed that the NEC will be convening a special meeting this morning. He's also mentioned that there will be no interruptions as far as their planning is going.
And
he
there'll
mentioned
be no vote buying.
Exactly, no vote buying. And I mean, things might start later. Cecilia mentioned there might be a bit of delays, but once the processes start, once the meetings start, they will continue undisrupted. We still do have in studio with us our ANN7 Special Projects Editor, Cecilia Russell.